Good evening, everybody, and welcome to One on One with Unc. My guest tonight is Miss Toni Dupree. Toni Dupree is an internationally quoted author, relationship, and etiquette expert. She is the founder of the Houston based Etiquette and Style by Dupree. She offers customized etiquette workshops, business environment training, and life skill coaching sessions to young adults and business professionals. She is a three-time honoree of the Houston Better Business Bureau for their award for excellence. Without further ado, I bring to you Miss Toni Dupree.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, and yourself?
Doing well, doing well.
Did I get that right?
All of what you said,
Uh-huh.
you did. I think you did pretty good.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for being a guest. It's this is kind of new to me still. But I'm learning on the fly. So I thank you for coming on and volunteering and sharing your knowledge. And if you could tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, other than what I just.
Okay, I am from Houston, born and raised. I'm an etiquette coach. I got a little business. I write, and I do a little etiquette here and there,
Okay.
and that's about it. That's about it.
Now, etiquette. The what is etiquette? Because for me, etiquette was always, you know, the prim and proper people that you had to have the right fork and your placement, everything had to be in its place when you sit down at the table. But now I understand that there's etiquette in the workplace, etiquette here and etiquette there. um which one, I guess, do you cover all of that, or it's a specific place?
So I fortunately or unfortunately, I cover everything. But I do more etiquette in business. So, what etiquette is simply is a set of rules or protocols, depending on who is who is setting the law, and for best practice. A standard of best practice is what etiquette is.
Okay.
And it is a standard for best practice in business, in social settings, in in relationship, and in everything that we do, there is an etiquette to it.
Okay.
So there's a
Now.
set of there's a protocol basically for everything
Okay.
that you do, and it's bigger
uh,
than knowing which fork to use.
okay. Well, like I say, you learn something new every day, and now once you put it like that, it all makes sense. It's the word protocol is what gives me a better understanding.
Yeah, it's a standard, and I find it really interesting that everything is so lax today. How we talk to each other, how we dress, how we engage, how we
Hmm.
handle our relationships, love ships or friendships.
Okay.
People are just very haphazardly today. So when you hear a word like etiquette, it's almost displaced in today's society.
Yeah,
Because
because now that you mention it, people are more relaxed in situations where they may should not be. It's like you
right,
go somewhere and you lower your expectations of what's supposed to be, or how you're supposed to act, or how you're supposed to interact with other people. And and if you come from a place of, I don't want to say regiment, but of habit, You're used to
Mhm.
people doing things a certain way, and then you walk into a situation where people are just, they're just all haphazard and whatever. It can throw you off.
Yes, it can. Because so what I usually tell people is if they're at dinner and they don't know what to do, watch the hostess or the host. Well, in
Okay.
most settings, they don't know who that is.
True.
And then they're like, well, I can't follow them. They're eating with their hands. They picked up their whole steak and with their hands. So I can't follow them. So you can't even really say that now. You used to, I mean, in some settings it works, but not in every setting because
That's
the
true.
hostess is not really identified.
Yeah, because
And
you
I tell
can't
them
do.
it's the person who invited you to the shindig. That's the
Mhm.
hostess. Yeah,
Okay.
follow them.
Yeah, because you can't do what you do at the cookout that you do at the high end restaurant
No,
where you're
although,
sitting at the.
well, let's say it like this: you shouldn't because it's not
Yeah, I mean,
best.
yeah, but you shouldn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not best
Yeah,
practice.
because
But
people do. I Yeah, they do.
they do. They will do it. It makes for
And
good
then,
conversation later,
oh
but
yeah,
it will.
oh
It's
definitely,
yes,
definitely makes for good humor. And
right.
yes, so your how did you get into writing? Your first book is don't tell me because I wrote it down.
Uh
Whose
huh.
fork is it anyway?
Yes.
How did you come up with the concept, and why did you write?
Oh, do you really want to know why I wrote that book?
Sure. Yes.
So, so I was broke. I had I lost my mother, and
Oh,
I lost my job. I was laid off. I broke my ankle. I foreclosed on my house. All of that. It was just a domino effect. I was the female version of Job. I lost
okay.
everything one person couldn't lose and still have their mind. So
Mm,
I was in a townhouse that all I could do was pay. You pay to get in and you pay the first month's.
right.
That was it. And I was looking for a job to pay the rent. So I said, Lord, whatever it is, you have blessed us with it, all whatever, if it's money, if it's an idea, whatever it is, I don't know where it is. Show me. And I promise you, I heard write a book. And I was like, no,
Mm.
I need a job. I'm not writing a book. I don't even at that time I didn't know the first thing about publishers, publishing, anything. Uh, Writing, I mean, I wrote in my journal, but you
Right.
know, who cares about that? So
Okay.
I was defiant. I was, and I didn't, and I kept on looking for a job that I never found. I was working for temp agencies for $8 an hour. I applied at Whataburger. Whataburger did
Mm.
not hire me. They did not. And I was really upset about that because, you know, out of everything, that is the one thing that I think about often. You couldn't even
Right.
get hired at Whataburger. So uh, I understand now about this whole uh, overqualified. I don't, I think that's a lot of BS because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's a lot better to hire somebody who knows how to count to 10 or who can count to 100 rather than
Mm-hmm.
hiring somebody who can only count to 10. So that's my
Exactly.
concept. I mean, I'm not the one that's hiring. I'm looking for a job. So it's whatever they say. If they say you overqualified, you're overqualified. So
Right.
I kept meeting people who were publishers. I have no idea why because I don't travel in those circles. I just kept meeting people because I believe that writing a book is definitely what I was supposed to do at that time. So this one lady, she said, I know you have something written, like, and I said, well, I have a PowerPoint. And the name of the PowerPoint presentation was Whose Fork Is It Anyway? And she said, well, give me that. Let me look at that. She read it. She said, this is your book. I said, no, that is a training, it's a PowerPoint. No, this is
That's
your
just a
book.
thought.
Yeah. She said, write it. And I did. I wrote, I took it out of its normal format and then I put it into what I thought a book would look like. And she said, no, 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 no. This is a training manual. That's what I do, lady. I train. That's what, so I don't write books.
Right.
So I was so frustrated and angry because I'm broke and I'm arguing with this lady about something I don't even want to do in the first place. And I
Right.
was challenged. So I said, what is it? What am I supposed to do? And she said, I need a story. I went home and I was like, Lord, I don't have a story in me. Well, I woke up with a story like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was
Mm.
the story. That was the beginning of the book. So, not knowing how this is supposed to look, I wrote the story. It was my mother. My mother used to do these little makeshift dining lessons with me and my friends. So
Uh-huh.
I put that at the front, and then I did my PowerPoint presentation at the end, and it has do's and don'ts and stuff like that. It's my first book. It was like, it was my concept. The only
Yeah.
reason why I wrote it is it's going to help these parents where you don't have to call me all the time. You could use this book for your kids
Right.
who are standing on the table, who are running in the restaurant, or whatever they're doing. You can do this for yourself. So I took that training manual idea and put it in the book. And that's how I wrote the
Oh,
first book. That
that
was
makes sense. But I was listening to Oprah one day, and she talked about how when your purpose or whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, when it comes to you, sometimes we don't listen. So it whispers, and then there's a slap, and then there's maybe a punch in the head. And then if you're still not listening, it's like a ton of bricks hit you until you figure
right,
out that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And
right,
that's your story sounds a lot like that, where is you're like, what do you mean write a book? I'm just writing down stuff. I'm just, it's in my head
right,
and I'm writing it down because, I got to get it out of my head. But
right,
somewhere along the way, the universe says, hey, look, lady, you need to write
right,
this book because
right,
somebody needs help. And like you said, you've got these parents that got these kids that's running through the restaurant, running under the tables, running across the tables and throwing food everywhere. And they need to know how to teach them some of the proper things to do so that when
right,
they get grown, they won't still be running through the restaurant, climbing under the tables and running across the tables.
right,
So that is why you were instructed to write this book, because somebody needed to hear it and somebody needed to read it and understand it. So we tend to not listen until, like, okay, look. And that
right,
that lady was the one that's like, okay, come on now, let's get it
right,
together.
right. Let's get it
Now,
together. Exactly.
now, publishing your first, did you publish it yourself, or did you have a publishing company, or how did that?
Okay, how candid can I be about this process?
As
Because so
as
I
as
want you to,
as candid as you feel you need to be. It's because
okay,
whatever you say, somebody may need to hear it, and if then they won't get the lesson.
okay. So look, I am not. So they have this place called Create Space for yourself, where you can self-publish. I did go online and I looked up Create Space and I was like, this is never going to happen if I have to do it, because it's not I'm not a publisher. So at
Right.
that time I wasn't even a writer. I felt like an imposter. So I said, oh, I don't know. Somebody's got to help me with this. But I didn't know anybody in the industry. I knew nobody in the industry. And I kept meeting people. So I met a lady. She's not from here, and she said she was a publisher. There are publishers that work with self-publishing authors. So
Okay.
that's what she did, and that's the best way I can describe that. And I was like, okay, hell, I didn't know what I was doing either. So I'm not one to judge anybody. If you say this is
Right.
what you know how to
So you
do,
don't
and
know, you don't know that she don't know
exactly.
because you
You
don't know.
clearly know more than me. So we can do this together.
Right.
Well, she was the editor, the publisher, everything. And it got done. Did you hear how I said that? That's all right. You got it.
Okay. Got it.
And I want you to know that that book is still out there, and there's some mistakes. And I
Mm.
was I was mortified when I got a copy of the book, and I was like, "You spelled my name wrong," And I was,
Wow.
it was yes, yes. And then I saw another word, from. I think is spelled incorrectly, and I said, "Who who misspells from?" And I said, "See, this is why I didn't even want to do this. This is why I wanted to start. Now I got now,
This this was
I
not
can
helping
spend
at all.
money I don't have to publish a book I don't even like. And
Right.
here it was a whole storm of a lot. It was a lot. And I was crying. I was devastated. It was horrible. So that book was published that way in 2015. And I said, oh my God, please don't let anybody buy this book. They're going to think she
Mm.
is the dumbest person. Why? She can't even spell from. So
Mm.
I was all in my head about that.
Right.
Now, and so much in my head, I relaunched that book with a publishing company, Ex Libris, like the next year, because things were
Okay.
looking up in the financial department. So I
Okay.
refinanced. I launched the book, and it has a whole new look and everything. And so that is the cop. That is, it's a beautiful copy. It's a beautiful book, and it looks like what I wrote. So um, and I felt good about that product. But the other one is still out there, and they're
Well,
probably it's out there. I mean,
it's
but I
it's a collector's item now, and you know and some, I'm sure that there are people that are have read it, and they're sitting there, and like you said, they're like,
oh yes,
this lady, wait a minute, how's she gonna tell me how to do this, and she can't
yes,
even spell these little simple words. And not everybody will get, and maybe they'll run across the new one, and they'll say, wait, and then they'll read that one and be like, ah, and then they'll get a better understanding. But of course, they'll still
right,
say that you would, was crazy lady, but it, you but
right,
you had to go through that
right.
to get where you are. And sometimes people don't, they don't see the lesson. All they see it is, as they don't understand that that L is not necessarily a loss, but it's a
Mhm,
lesson.
right,
And you could
right,
very well have just quit. You saw that
mhm,
book and how it turned out, and you could have just been like, you know what? Mm-mm. I'm
right,
this is why I didn't want to write in the first place. And I'm gonna go find this lady who told me I needed to write, and I'm gonna bust her upside the head or something, because she just is crazy. But you weathered the
and
storm.
right. And the thing is, you know, I it's a very humbling process. And the one thing about this whole writing author business is
Hmm.
it is a business. There are mistakes to be made. I mean, in my workshops, I tell people you get to make a mistake. You don't get to make a million mistakes at one time, but you get to make a few mistakes because we're human
Right.
and you're going to make them, whether they're your mistakes or not. If your name is on it, you might as well own it. And it's my
Hmm.
story to tell. It's a part of the bigger story. So, I mean, that's what happened. I do know how to spell my name, and you know, and it's good to be able to laugh about stuff like that because I'll see that. I still have a copy of that book, of course. I was going to always
Hmm.
keep a copy of that book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to remind you of what not to do,
Yes.
and because you learned these things when you go out and you tell the story about how you started writing your book, maybe then they'll get a better understanding that you know I can go and maybe I should research a little more, or I should talk to this person. Just because somebody says that there's something doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
Right.
And
That's right.
you caught the first train smoking, because like you said, you had no clue, and you really didn't
Right.
want to do this in the first place. So it was like,
Right.
all right, let me just do this so this lady get off my back.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, but sounds like a
Learn a
very,
lot.
very interesting experience.
It was. I mean, the second book, it was much better. And what's interesting is that book was but to tell you, I didn't know nothing about the publishing industry or writing. And I didn't trust anybody either because when they
Right.
told me that the book was a bestseller, I was like, it couldn't
Yeah.
be. You have got to be kidding me. That book is not a bestseller. And I told one of my girlfriends, I remember telling her this. I said, they say it's a bestseller, but it's no way. They
You
selling out.
underestimated
I was wrong.
your expectations.
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but
I
you
mean,
know we
I
tend to
learned
do
a lot.
that.
Hmm? I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
you.
said we no, I'm saying we tend to do that. We do something, and then we're like, wait a minute, this can't be real.
Right.
But not understanding that if when something happens and you say this is too good to be true, or I don't deserve this, what you're saying is I don't want this. I don't appreciate this. But once you get past that point, you're like, okay, I did this. I'm good at it, and I'm going to do it again.
And
And
you
then
know
you
what
take
else?
that. Mhm.
You know what else on that note is when God blesses you, I always say, and I had to say this for myself, we don't, first of all, we're not ready. We're not ready at all. And we don't recognize it because we are looking at what we see our blessings should look like.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
God blesses you, He blesses you in a bigger, better way. You're only looking at one thing. Like for me, I just wanted a job. See, to me, that would
Mhm.
have been a blessing to have a job to just be able to pay what was due and late.
Right.
Well, God saw a bigger picture. And thank goodness he does see a bigger picture because not only was that something to learn from, it taught me worth in another
Mhm.
area. And I learned that I had a gift in another area where if I had just been focused on just a job, I would have never I would have never known or seen or been able to develop those other skills that would come
Yep.
to be a blessing for other people.
Yep.
So,
Because if you think about it, say you had gotten hired at Whataburger. This whole conversation and the other conversations that you've had, and the things that you've accomplished, you probably wouldn't have, because your goal was to get a job. And Whataburger says, hey, you're hired, and you're off, paying your bills and doing whatever, not understanding that there's something in you that needed to get out. But because you didn't have that experience that you had, you weren't able to do it. But because they didn't hire you, and you're like, man, this is crazy.
Right.
Whataburger? I can't get Whataburger?
Yeah.
But there was something else for you,
Yeah.
and you had to go through that in order to get where you are. And
Right.
you don't realize that until you turn around, and you after you get to a certain point, and you turn around and you look back, and you say, wait a minute, so that's why that happened. And
Hmm.
then I turned this way, and that's okay. And then you get it. You get a better picture once you have gone through the storm, and you can look back and say, hey, okay, this is why this happened.
Right. Right. That's exactly right. I totally agree with that.
Now, the second book, you said it was a lot easier to write, and it's straight up from the teacup.
Right.
Now, what is that about?
Straight up from the teacup is about how we engage with one another. And it is a book, each chapter is named after a tea. And that tea has to do with whatever. So usually when people are talking, they talk over something, over a glass of wine, over coffee, tea. Tea for me, when I think about having a cup of tea with a group of friends or one friend, it's conversational. It almost feels conversational. And so when I thought about the book, each chapter, I'm not an art, I'm not one of those authors that like to do chapter one, chapter two, because I mean, that's just not really my personality. I just kind of like to name the chapter something, or maybe I would
Okay.
put uh, just I don't know, just something creative instead of for the chapter. So in this book, T was fitting because each chapter was more like a conversation about a particular topic. So there's a little business etiquette in the book. There's a little personal development chapter in the book, and all the stuff in between. I share some funny stories about myself, like one of these quotes from my grandfather. He is my one of my favorite quotes from him. He used to say, "If you're the best thing in your group, you know how people have a group of friends, and they might be
Mm-hmm.
the smartest person in the group, or the sassiest person, or the most stylish person in the group, or what have you."
Uh,
He said,
uh-huh.
"If you are the best thing smoking in your group ain't shit." That's what he he used to he used to say that all the time. You can't be the best thing in your situation.
Yeah,
And
'cause
I like to be around people that I think are better than me in certain areas because it keeps you striving to be better.
mhm, yeah,
There's some areas, I mean, none of us are perfect. There's some I don't do etiquette because I have all the answers. I
right,
do that because I am a well-behaved person, but at the same time, there are some areas where I'm not as well behaved as
okay.
I would like to be.
Well, we all have flaws.
And so you have
Yeah,
people around you that they may excel in certain places where you don't. You're a lot smaller
right,
in that place. And so you can
yeah,
learn from one of your
mhm,
people. I took a
yeah,
pause
because
because I was thinking of all the places that I might be very small in. And so, so uh, and when you do that, there's a respect for the give in the group. So the
right,
book is about all of that. I just like to bring about a consciousness. I think that is my gift to society, to
okay,
make people conscious of what's around them. What's good around them, the good that's in them that you can kind of share out, no matter what it is. And just reminded because we can't get plagued with all the funky stuff in the world, you know,
that is
and
true. That is
and you can
true.
get stuck there easily.
Oh, yeah. You can
Mhm.
fall into that you can fall into a rut, and you start to think that this is, it can't get any worse, or it's never going to get better. And
Right.
once you get to that point where you start to feel like it's never going to get better and you give up, it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to get back out of that, because what you do is you put yourself so deep in a hole, and then you start to attract those very same kind of people who feel the same way. And now you got a whole bunch of people that's stuck in this little hole, and woe is me, or the sky is
Yeah.
falling. And so you have to surround yourself with different people that and like your grandfather said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're definitely in the wrong room, because you're
Right.
not learning anything. I mean, you can't learn.
You know.
Once you've learned everything from this group of people, it's okay to say, hey, I appreciate you, but now it's time for me to go to the next level.
Right.
And hopefully they will get the message, and move to the next level as well.
Right. I agree.
Although you're going to have those people that think you're better than everybody. And all right, cool, whatever.
Right. I mean,
you know
thank you for the compliment. You know, I know
hmm
better than that, but thank you if that's how you feel. But
yeah, of course.
I think straight up from the teacup, um, I don't like one book other, over the other one, but I could tell that I was more relaxed in my sharing in that book. So I appreciated the experience. Of course, the publishing experience was great. That book was in actually in Barnes and Noble. Well, I shouldn't say was. I guess if your book is in Barnes and Noble, it's in Barnes and Noble. So I'm very
Okay.
happy that it was actually in Barnes and Noble. It is also a bestseller, so I'm happy about that, of course.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. But and people talk about it a lot. It got people ask me a lot of questions about it, like, where did the topics come from? And it just came from a real place. Actually, talking to my girlfriends and some of our conversations, I was glad to know that people think about some of the same things that I think about. You know,
Okay.
um, so it
Well,
was an interesting book, but it got kind of heavy in one space. And then I took a little time off from writing it because I share a story at the end of the book that actually happened. And
okay.
I share the text that I received in the book.
Mm,
And then
okay.
I share how to deal with that, when
Right.
you meet somebody um, who is not fully developed as
Okay.
you know, uh, and you'll receive some kind of nasty nuggets from them, and I share how to respond to that.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like the second book was a lot easier to write. One, because the pressure
Yeah,
was off after the first book. It's like, okay, you know what? Maybe
right.
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So now it's not
Well,
that. Or you still
I'm
haven't
not
figured that. You still
sure.
hadn't figured that out.
Well, I wasn't sold yet. By then,
Oh, okay.
it wasn't
Okay.
until I met my publicist, and
Okay.
she I would have to tell you, she forced me to see my range as a writer because I don't know. Like, I wanted to write the second book, and I think
Uh-huh.
I wanted to write the second book because I wanted to recover from the first experience because
Okay.
it was such a tough experience. And um, my publicist taught me to kind of marinate in writing. So I have written for various publications internationally, and it's been great. Now I feel like a writer. It's taken all that
Okay.
time.
Okay.
I feel like I actually that is part of my living that I write, and
Okay.
so now I can feel kind of proud of that. It took a
All
while.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure, because I'm sure that first experience traumatized you.
Yeah,
And you're like, you know, you because you think that people are really have your best interest at heart, and so you, because you really didn't know the process and how it worked,
right,
you put your trust in that person, and it's like, okay. And now once you do that, you figure you're starting to think, is this how they all are?
right,
Are they only out for themselves? Is there anybody out here that's willing to help me? And so you had to find those people.
right.
And that, but that's a part of the growing process, I guess,
That's
for
right.
just about everything in life.
Yes,
Like for me with the talk show, it's trial and error, and meeting people and understanding, and watching the people that are doing what I want to do. And
yes,
so that will help me in later on as I continue to progress. Now,
yes.
let's talk about Toni Dupree. That's the one that's not writing books and giving classes and getting awards.
Okay.
You know, what does that Toni like to do? I know she likes TikTok. I've seen. Uh-huh.
So it's always got to come up. TikTok.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
got to come up.
And you know what? I wasn't even looking. I was, because I like TikTok myself. So I was just scrolling through TikTok, and I'm like, hey, hold on, this is interesting. I know this lady from somewhere, and I'm like, okay. But it was a cute little thing, and I'm like, okay, you know. But
Oh
that's
man.
the fun side, and because I notice you're not always, you know, business.
Right. Well, you know what? Because you need an outlet and you need a
Hmm.
creative outlet um, to write, and so the Tony that is not writing and doing all the etiquette stuff, what does she like to do? So what I enjoy doing, I enjoy wine. I enjoy, yes, I do enjoy TikTok. I love to laugh and hang out
Hmm.
with my friends. I have two, I have, so I have two things that I really, really enjoy, and that's doing absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
When you, I mean, during winter break, I said I had a winter creed, and that was to do
Hmm.
absolute. Oh, you saw the
Absolutely
winter
nothing.
creed?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. And it's very rare that you get to do that. And the other thing that I enjoy doing, besides wine, I enjoy eating.
Okay.
I do. I love to eat good food, and I enjoy eating out.
Okay.
That doesn't sound
Now
like that's. I don't mean for that to sound like I just eat 24 hours a day. But when I do eat,
I got the picture, because if you did, you probably wouldn't fit in the screen. And I'm like, so
but when I do eat, I want it to be a good meal, a
right.
good meal. Um, a friend of mine, her name is Shakitha Michael. She tells me that I eat
Oh,
trash food. Yeah, that I
speaking of
enjoy eating
Shakitha,
trash food. So I kind of do.
she's in the room.
Well, you see,
She
so she
she's in
hears
the
me
room.
saying this about
Uh,
her because she says that all the time. So, and I do. I enjoy that. I don't eat it every day, but I could.
right.
Yes. So, those are some of the things I enjoy doing. That's not what I think you were talking about more outward things. Of course, I enjoy
No,
travel,
no,
but when I
just
say that, we can't hardly get on the plane now.
that's
We
true.
can't hardly.
That's
That's
true.
why we have to be like this because we can't travel, not
Exactly.
comfortably.
Ex-
So,
nope.
and oh, I should. I left one out. I do enjoy shopping,
Okay.
but what lady doesn't enjoy shopping, right?
That is true. So
Yeah.
what is the thing that when you go shopping that you just have that you see it and you have to have this. There one thing, like you have some women that like shoes, bags, blouses, scarves, hats,
It's
sunglasses.
it's really sad because I like everything. Everything. I love furniture, jewelry, clothes, shoes, furniture, accessories. It doesn't matter. I love it. I mean,
Okay, so you're just an
I'm not
equal
caught,
opportunity shopper.
huh? I'm sorry.
It's an equal opportunity shopper.
Right. I'm not, I don't like, I would never have a lot of cars. I
Okay.
would never have a lot of cars because I wouldn't want to get an inspection sticker on every car. I, and I don't like to buy tires and stuff like that. So that's not
Okay.
one car is fine for me, you know.
Right.
But what I would have, I would have a driver. Then that way I could stop and get some of the trash food that, and I could eat it in the back seat while I'm
And you don't have to worry about nobody talking about you eating your little trash food because the
right.
driver ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah. And I don't eat and drive, and all that, you know. So because I like to be comfortable when I eat my meals.
Right.
So I'm not going to eat behind the steering wheel. That's why.
Okay. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
See,
Makes
that's
sense.
a little bit more about me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a great thing. It's always interesting to see the other side. That's why I was, when I saw the TikTok video and then I see some of the Instagram posts like at the school. You work at a school
Yes.
and with the kids and how they have the because I remember when well, I don't talk about when I was in high school, but they have the mismatch day and
Uh-huh.
the you know the pajama day, and you have some people that adults that don't
Yeah.
like to participate because they think it's silly and foolish. But to me, sometimes it's okay to be silly and foolish.
Yes.
As long as you're not getting what's wrong with if they have if you're participating in the school function there's nothing wrong with that. We used to have mismatch days and
Right.
and pajama day and all that kind of stuff. I really think that that's pretty cool. And when you
Right.
see somebody who enjoys that, other than what they're usually doing, it's good to see that
Mhm.
there's another side.
And I say that's good for children too. I think children need to see adults that they are learning from be human.
Hmm.
They need to know that, yes, we laugh, and we make fun and all of that, and it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's enriching actually. But if
Yes.
you can see it a lot more often, I'm in a business where it is a business, and it is sometimes it can be very very sterile even for me. I
Hmm.
don't I don't want to be a stick in the mud and serious all the time. My work is
Right.
serious. Yes, I take it seriously. I take my clients seriously and all of that. And it's great, but I love to laugh. And I will laugh with my clients too because it it is not that bad.
No.
And um and I can honestly tell you it is really not that bad. There was a time in my life that all hell broke loose when I lost my mother. I wanted to die
Mm.
and I had to find a reason to live. And it took me 6 years to get past the loss of my mother. And
Wow.
to do that, I'm an only child, and
Oh.
I was very, very close to my mother, severely
Okay.
close. And there are times that I think that's probably why she had to go because I
Yeah.
I learned
Otherwise, you'd still be clinging, and you
well,
wouldn't want to. I mean, not necessarily clinging, but you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't have been able to step out and do what you're doing now.
I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have been working on the job that I was on, and or still in that career, which I was a behavior therapist, and
Okay.
it was just a hard loss, and learning to live without her was me thinking about, just living in her memory instead of plagued by the death, because
Right.
everything was, I didn't want to go, Mother's Day was a problem, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't say it out loud, but I just didn't want to leave the house. And then
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go around. So for Christmas, after my mother passed, I had some friends that were like, come have dinner by us, come be by us. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want them to be a band-aid. I didn't
Right.
want, what if they wanted to do something else and then, well, Tony with her sad ass, she gonna be coming by here. You gotta wait for her. I don't, I don't want to be. I don't. Can I say that on your show? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
You're
So
you're free to speak.
I should have got that out the way in the where was I backstage? I'm sorry.
Oh nah,
But
it's okay because my wife gets on me about cussing
oh,
because I tend to, yeah, I try to clean it up, but it's for me it's therapeutic. It's not
that's
personal.
what
You
I
know,
say. I
yeah,
agree with you. I
it's
do. I mean,
therapeutic. I mean, it's like,
it's
and
colorful language.
I looked at, I was going through the emojis on my phone one day, and I saw where they had put the middle finger as one of the emojis. And you'd
Yeah,
have thought that I had found a pot of gold. I was just so excited that that emoji was on the phone. I was like, man, I can't wait to use it. I made a reason to have a post so I could use it. And I'm like, this is
really.
just,
What was
yeah,
that post?
I don't remember what the post was, but it was somewhere on Facebook where and that was my nephew. I was, because my nephew's, he's half crazy and half just, I don't know what the rest of him is, but and it's partly my fault because we made him that way. But I sent a post to him, and it was like 50 these middle fingers, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad they put
That's
this
a
on
shame.
here. Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna go look.
it,
I'm
oh,
not
you
gonna
probably
send
won't.
it. I just wanna
Oh
look
no,
and
you probably this
see.
was, oh, ain't no telling when this was. It's been a while. I'll be looking for it to come up
Oh,
in
okay.
my memories, but I guess Facebook is like, you know what? Nobody. We're not gonna let you see this one again because you'll send
Well,
it back out.
good you didn't go to Facebook jail.
Yeah, that's true. Because I didn't say any words, and it was like it was, well, yeah, I don't know if they had Facebook jail then. I've been lucky enough not to go to Facebook jail because I try to tone it down, because now
I
that I
haven't
do the
been either.
show and stuff like that, I try to be a little more refined. But I enjoy cussing. It's just, I don't know. It's something I got from my mother. She was a cursor, and I would listen to her, and then I couldn't wait to repeat the words once I got outside. And then I found out all my friends talk like that, and I'm like, oh, this is real.
So I'm glad we're talking about cussing because let me tell you, my mother, she could cuss like she was singing a song. And she would be on the phone and I would be laying on the floor outside her door listening. And then I would go in my bathroom as a child and practice saying what I heard her say. And I got to use it on this little boy. He was throwing rocks at our house. And I opened the front door and I was letting him have it. And my mother was standing behind me and heard
Mm.
everything I said. And she called my whole name, which is Shatanya
Whoa.
Michelle Dupree. What
Oh
are you
yeah,
doing? And
that's
I,
trouble.
yes. And I said, this is what I heard you say.
Mm-hmm.
And that did not help my case. It did not. But I was a child that got a whooping every day for something. It would be either I was standing in a corner with my leg up. You know how, do you remember that? When you're on
Uh-uh.
punishment, you stand in the corner, you have to
Oh,
hold my leg up.
well, see, I never got the experience of standing in the corner. It was like a whooping, and then that was it. There wasn't
Oh, really?
no, yeah, it wasn't no timeout and stand in the corner and put the books on your head and none of that stuff. My father, he was like, okay, you wanna do this? Okay, I got something for that, and then that was it. And you either learn your lesson or you don't learn your lesson and get it again. My thing was fire. I love to play with fire, and I can't
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many whoopings I got. You'd have thought that I never would have picked up another match ever again, but
Oh,
you know,
wow.
oh yeah, I was yeah, but that
Fire
standing in the
sport.
corner and well, I didn't start. Well, no, no. I mean,
What?
I was just fascinated by not big fires like matches and stuff like that. That was about
Uh-huh.
it.
So
But
I got whoopings, like I got a whooping every day. I did. And
mm,
you know what's funny? I was telling a girlfriend of mine last night. I said I had when I started my business, my mother was like, I cannot believe you are an etiquette coach. You used to throw your clothes on the floor, and I would be like, we're not talking about that right now. We're
okay.
not living in the past. That was a kid. And she would always say, you are an etiquette coach. I used to always, do you know how many whoopings you got? Do you know how many, it was
Mm.
always that. Like, it's
Oh yeah,
always the most, and I wasn't bad. I wouldn't say I was bad. I mean, you're by yourself. You have no choice. You're trying
yeah.
things, you're taking a risk. I mean,
Of
that's what
course. Hey,
it's
that's
not
part of the
bad.
growing process.
Right.
You know,
Today,
and,
I
and,
think they
and
should say that for kids, that they're taking a risk. They're
yes,
not bad. They're
no,
risk
they
takers.
yep, and some of them are more riskier than others, and
That's
so
right.
it,
But doesn't that
yeah, I
sound
mean,
better? It
it
sounds better.
does.
And it doesn't hurt their self-esteem to say, you're a little risk taker. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
Mm-hmm.
better than saying,
Yeah.
look at you,
Adventure
bad
or call them
self.
adventurous. Tell them that they're
I
some
like
some
that.
kids are overly adventurous, but
That's right.
adventurous nonetheless.
I think we're on
And
to something. We might
I
need to
think so
create
too.
this. Yeah, we
I
need to
think
create this for
yeah, because
society. Stop
I
telling
know
your children they're
I
bad.
I know quite a few adventurous kids. I
Right.
think they're like
And
one
you
of them
can
is my
spot it.
grandkids. So oh
Uh,
yeah,
you can spot
oh
it
yeah,
because
but
you used to be adventurous. Right.
very much so,
Yes.
very much
And
so.
see, yeah, because
Well,
we know what we are or what we used to be.
mm-hmm,
See, we can
exactly.
call that.
Now, let's see if anybody in the audience has any questions because we're getting close to the end of the show.
No.
And I want to thank people for coming in. I have to make sure that I, pay attention to my audience. We've got
Yes.
Shakitha and G Fam. Thank you all for coming in Q's World. I appreciate you. Yeah, see that in Q's World knows about she's heard me tell the fire stories about, me playing with fire and my dad and stuff like that. So I've told that story a couple of times. Um, yeah, she said I really don't like to hear people call children bad. And yeah,
See?
now that I look at it, sometimes you say things and you're used to saying things a certain way, and then you hear something that's a little different, and it kind of it makes sense because if you
Mhm.
tell them that they're bad, they'll think that they're you know the
So
worst
I
thing
was
ever. But if you tell them that they're adventurous or they're risk takers, then it makes them see things a little different, and they'll turn that into taking risk in
right.
other areas that aren't so dangerous.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Shakitha wants to know when can we expect the next book?
Oh, Shakita. That's
I was going to ask that same question, but I'm glad she asked it because it sounded listening to you talk is like, okay, you know what? Why is she, really
why she
you trying to
what?
do this? No, is she putting you on the spot or
Oh,
is there a plan for another book?
it is. I actually am almost done with the book that I was writing for kids, middle schoolers actually. It's called Smack Dab in the Middle, a middle schooler's guide to keeping it G.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost finished with it, but I have to meet with publishers and I haven't I want to finish it and just give the manuscript, you know,
Okay.
to see who will publish it.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a
So
very
I'm not
interesting
sure,
title.
but it's almost finished. But so let me say soon. Let's hope
Okay.
by summer. By summer.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll be on the lookout. And
Mm.
you say we can find your books in Barnes and Noble. How
You
about on
can,
Amazon as
right?
well?
Yes.
Okay.
But the great copy is the one published by Ex Libris. Now, Ex Libris, okay?
Okay. That's the one I need to get a hold of.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Because I'm
Okay.
not gonna talk to you if you get the other one.
Okay. Oh, we have another. Okay. How did you come up with book names? That is Miss Reed.
Okay, so whose fork is it anyway? It was a little boy in my dining etiquette workshop. He was 3 or 4, and he was over it with the forks and the knives. And he said, "Who cares?" He was like this. "Who cares whose fork it is? I'm just ready to eat." And then that's how I came up with the title.
Okay.
And then straight up from the teacup, I just think I was in a place, and you just get tired of hearing the lies,
Mm-hmm.
and you get tired of not being able to talk straight with people because there's a way that you can talk to someone without being ugly or hurting their feelings if you have something
Okay.
to tell. Like if you have to tell somebody they have a body odor. I
Okay.
mean, you have to think about how to say that because your point, they've been offending you the whole time, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but your goal is not to retaliate.
Right.
So it takes thought. So straight up from the teacup is about, thinking about those things, but being honest and straight. And I think if you're that way all the time, people know that there's no malice. You
Right.
actually mean them well, but it's the whole what we learned when we were kids, think before you speak, and
This. Yes.
you have to use caring language. You do. I mean, just because people like to curse a little bit don't mean that they holler and scream at each other talking about you funky. I mean, you're not doing that. You want to do that
Right.
better, you know. So
Yes.
that's I came up with that because that was along the lines of how I was thinking. I wanted straighter conversations. I want to be around people who are not afraid to tell me things. If my slip is hanging,
Okay.
I want you to tell me that. I want you
Okay.
to be
Makes
comfortable to
sense.
tell me that. So that's how I came up with it because I was just thinking along those lines.
Okay.
And then
All
the book
righty.
for middle schoolers is watching those
Mm-hmm.
kids and how they are, and they need to be able to be G's too. They could be little G's in their life.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to say it has been a pleasure having you on. Can't wait
Yeah.
for the new book. Um, I would love to have you on again in the future.
Okay.
Um, because it's fun. It's you know you don't always have to. you know, I know when I started doing this, it was I was always wanting to be serious, and I had to learn how to, lighten up. Nobody wants to be
Yeah.
sitting there listening to somebody, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," and I'm sure that the guests is probably sitting there like, this dude is crazy, So you
Sweating.
have to,
Sweating.
yeah, you have to have a balance. So
Yes.
I thank you again for coming on.
Thank you
Again,
for
you can
having
find
me.
the books. You can find the books at Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It's Whose Fork Is It Anyway?
Yes.
And Straight Up from the Teacup.
Yes.
And when the new book comes out, I'll be sure to post it and let everybody know and promote it as well.
Thank you so much. I really
And
appreciate
and
it. And thank you for having me. This was so
and
fun. I didn't
thank you.
sweat
And
not
yes,
one
it was.
time. I wasn't
And
nervous.
see,
So thank you.
yeah, and yeah, because I know you had said you were worried about, because I didn't reach out and say what we were going to talk about. Trust me, this for me, it's not, rocket science. I'm going to try to
Right.
keep it as softballish as I can and make sure that it stays light, because like I said, nobody wants to be
Yes.
sitting and
I appreciate that.
just wah wah. It sounded like the Charlie Brown teacher.
Right. Nobody likes that.
So no, so thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Toni Dupree,
Thank you. Bye.
and
And thank you, everybody.
thank my wonderful audience for coming in. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I
And
will
me
see you
too.
all next week. All righty,
Bye
and that
bye.
is it.
Have a good evening.
You do the same.
Okay.
All right, bye bye. Thank you all so much for coming in, and I will see you all next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And as I like to say, remember to be happy on purpose and know that I believe in you, believe in you too. I'm out. Peace.